Hi guys, welcome to a very special episode of the Knitting Expat podcast. This isn't even a podcast episode, this is a introduction to some new patterns I'm going to be releasing soon, specifically socks. So these are going to be what we're talking about today. There's actually 4 new designs that I'm releasing this week, and I have 2 samples of each to show you. And just want to talk you through them a little bit and explain some of the features and a little bit about how adaptable they are, because they are super adaptable patterns, really easy to knit, really fun. The collection is called Beyond Vanilla Part 1 because there will be a Part 2, second collection coming soon. So this is Beyond Vanilla Part 1. It's for those of you, well, it's for everyone really, for anyone who enjoys knitting socks. And you've knit your basic vanilla sock, you've knit several vanilla socks, and you want something a little bit different, something a little bit more interesting, something to keep your interest a little bit longer, and just a bit of fun, something a bit different, beyond vanilla. Not quite as complicated, not any complicated like cables or lace patterns, nothing that requires any additional materials other than what you normally need to knit a pair of vanilla socks. And most of the designs are very simple. Actually, they're all very simple, easily memorizable, very short stitch repeats. I think there are either 4 or 6 stitch repeats, and for the most part, the row repeats are the actual pattern repeats in terms of numbers of rows are relatively short, ranging anywhere from 4 to 8 rows per repeat on average. I think there might be a couple that are longer, but like I said, they're all very adaptable patterns as well. One second, let me just see. So, like I said, there are 4 designs. I've just got a few little notes here, so I'll make sure I cover everything. So there are 4 designs coming out, and I'll run you through the socks and the names in a second. So 4 designs, each comes in 3 sizes. So you get sizing directions for knitting socks: 56 stitch, 64 stitch, and 72 stitch. Like I said, they are simple stitch repeats, and they are easily adjustable for other sizes as well. So, for example, if you need an in-between size, like a 60 stitch sock or a 68 stitch sock, that is, once you read the pattern, you see the stitch counts, you'll see it's actually quite easy to make those adjustments if you need to. I don't have specific instructions in there, but it's relatively simple. The way I design most of my socks is the pattern is only down the front of the leg, so I always have a couple of stitches on either side, either end of the sock on the front, which are just in plain stockinette the whole way through. So if you do need to make minor adjustments, if you're in between sizes and you need slightly smaller or slightly larger, you can just add or subtract stitches on the sides there, and that doesn't affect the pattern in the middle either. So that's one way of doing it. And on that note, if you did want the pattern on the back of the sock as well, you just repeat what you do on the front on the back. The pattern is written for magic loop, so it's written as needle 1, needle 2 for the front and the back of the foot. So needle 1 will be what will be the top of the leg, the front of the leg, and then the top of the foot, and that will be where all the patterning is. And then needle 2 is the back of the leg and then under the foot, which is all in plain stockinette in my written pattern. But if you wanted to put patterning on the back of the leg as well, then you just repeat needle 1 instructions on needle 2 for the back of the leg. So it's, again, very simple, easy to do. My personal preference is to have a plain back of the leg, but that's just me, and I know a lot of people like to have it patterned, and you're more than welcome to do that. All of the socks, all the patterns, all of the patterns come with fully written out German short row heel instructions on how to knit the German short row heel, which is a heel that is not, I haven't come up with this heel. It is not my invention, as I would say. It's not my invention. There are German short row heels out there. I just hadn't found one that I liked, so I came up with this particular method of knitting a German short row heel, which is one that I have worked on over several pairs of socks, close to 20 pairs of socks I think now that I've knit using this method to try and perfect it and get it to be exactly how I'd like it. That being said, you are more than welcome to do whatever heel you like. You can use the fishlet skis heel, you can use a traditional short row heel, you can use a heel flap and gusset, or any sort of combination thereof of any kind of heel that you would normally like to use. You're more than welcome to use. And I think Hugo's going to make an appearance. Doesn't matter that it's not a podcast, he still has to get his bum on camera. So apologies for that. I'm going to say hi properly. Yeah, okay. So yeah, like I said, you can use any heel you like, and on the same note, you can use whatever toe decreases you like and whatever cuff ribbing you like. You don't have to use what's in the pattern. The pattern, I've included 2x2 ribbing for ease, and because I was knitting all the samples myself, I wanted to 2x2 is the quickest for me. And then what else was I going to say? Like I said, the pattern is written for magic loop, needle 1, needle 2, but you can easily adapt it to work on DPNs if that is your preferred method. I don't knit socks on DPNs, and I very rarely knit with DPNs as it is. So I don't have any instructions in the pattern for how to knit the socks on DPNs, but like I said, if you have knit socks before and you prefer using DPNs, then it is pretty simple to figure it out how to do it. I would imagine, because they're not complicated. And also, again, the pattern doesn't give specific instructions on how to do this, but if you'd like to knit socks 2 at a time, which is how I knit all the samples, I have a separate video showing how to get set up and get started knitting socks 2 at a time and dealing with yarn management. So I will leave a link to that below as well for you guys. See if there was anything else I wanted to say before we get started. Oh, and the patterns on these 4 socks anyway are reversible, so you can knit them toe up or cuff down. Now the pattern instructions are written cuff down, but if you have a preferred toe up method that you like to use, then by all means you can knit them toe up as well, and that would also work perfectly. So yeah, so let's get started. Oh, and one final thing, I put a question out last week to see if anyone would be interested in doing a knit along for these patterns when they come out, and it seems to be quite a bit of interest in that. So I think we will be doing a Beyond Vanilla knit along, or pattern socks knit along, starting on the 20th of May when these patterns are released, and it will run until the 27th of June, which is a Monday, I believe. So stay tuned to the end of the video and I will show you the prices for the knit along. Alright, so let's jump into the socks. So the first pattern is called Pebbles, and they're all sort of naturey themed names. And so this is the first pattern. It's called Pebbles. So it's a very simple textured stitch. They're all simple textured stitches, to be honest. But I'm ordering them from 1, 2, 3, 4 by order of increased. I say increased difficulty. They're not difficult at all, but increased amount of concentration, I guess. Although all of them are incredibly simple, and all of them by the end of knitting, or even halfway through, the more, I say complicated with quotation marks because they're not complicated, but the more complicated ones by comparison are even halfway down the leg. After a couple of repeats, you've pretty much got it memorized, or you can read where you are, and it's quite easy to see. So this is a really fun, simple texture. I like doing the back in stockinette so you can see the difference between how the yarn knits up. And this yarn is wool barn. The wool barn, some of Maya's lovely hand-dyed yarn in her, I can't remember which base it is, but it's one of her sock bases, and it's in the Pebble Beach. Is it Pebble Beach? I think it's Pebble Beach colorway. So this is Pebbles, named after that. And I also knit up a version in a tonal colour for my husband. And so this is a Verdant Griffin Skinny Bugger. It's an MCN base in the Green Water Snake colourway. You can see how that's knit up on a tonal compared to a speckled. So this pattern works really well for all yarns. It's one of those potato chippy, really easy to knit, really, really fun texture. That's those. Then the next pattern in the collection is called Cobblestones. And I've done this one on a self-striping. So again, I think the Pebbles will work really well on self-striping as well. It's one of those texture patterns that works on pretty much everything. I really love how this works up. At the moment, whenever I'm coming to knit a vanilla sock, I find I really want to knit a pair of Cobblestones, and because I haven't been showing these socks on the podcast so far, I've been avoiding doing that. But I think this is going to be one of my go-to sock patterns when I want to do something a little bit more than just vanilla socks. And yeah, they are so much fun to knit up. I really enjoy knitting these, this pattern. And with this one, I've popped in a contrast heel. I think this was a, can't remember now if this was a German short row heel or a fish lips kiss heel. I can't remember. At the time when I was knitting the earlier samples, I was still working on the German short row heel, so some of them I did with the fish lips kiss heel. This one's definitely German short row heel. So this is the second sample that I knit up, and this is on a tweed base. Sorry, I forgot to mention this sock yarn is by Trading Clouds in the Nimbus sock base, which I think is a BFL nylon base, and this is in the meandering colorway. And this one is another BFL sock base, but it's BFL tweed, and this is by Inspirational Yarns. The lovely Shannon sent me this yarn, and it's in her Budgie Brights colorway. And you can see this one, I was having issues. I knit all of these socks on 2.25mm needles, but this pair I knit on carbons. And for some reason my gauge on carbons is quite a bit looser than they are otherwise. And I found that they were getting quite baggy around the ankle. So what I did was I added a panel of 2x2 ribbing centered on the back. I did it for, I think it was 25 rows in the end. About 20-25 rows. Just before the ankle, and I switched back to stockinette about 10 rows before I started the foot. So this just cinches it in nicely at the back of the leg, so it's not baggy and loose around the ankle. So that is an option if you find that your socks are a bit loose and baggy around the back of the ankle, that you can just insert a small panel of ribbing. You can see there how that cinches that in a little bit. You can insert a small panel of ribbing just above the ankle, or just above the foot, sorry, just above the heel to cinch that in a bit. So that's the second pattern, it's Cobblestones. The third pattern I'm calling Gravel, just because of the sort of texture nature, it's the bumpy texture. So this was knit on, this was the first version that I knit, and it was knit on Frolicking Feet, and I believe it was the colorway was Mardi Gras. It's 100% superwash merino, and I just used some Patterns Croy for contrast heel. And this one was a fish lips kiss heel, I remember. But yeah, so you can see this is one of those yarns that is not self-striping, but it spiral pulls. So you can see how it's just pulled, and it looks like it's striping. You can see even with that, the texture, while the pattern is a little bit lost in all the colouring, it still provides a really fun texture to the sock. And then the second sample that I knit was out of Dubai Knits yarn on her the Luna base, which is 100% superwash merino. And this is in the Wait For Me colourway. This way will show you better. You can see how the texture shows up. It's almost like little diamonds in the yarn. And I really love this pattern as well. This is a really fun texture, and this works really well for tonals and subtly variegated yarns. And it would look really nice, I think, with speckles as well. Sort of spiral pulling, probably not the best for this yarn. I think Cobblestones would work really well with this, and Pebbles as well. But this probably wasn't the best choice. But even so, it still provides a really fun texture to the front of the sock, if you look at it this way. It's just a fun, interesting feel to it as well. And so yeah, so this is Gravel. And then the final pattern is called Driftwood. And I really love this pattern. This is so much fun to knit. And it's simple. It's a very simple texture again. And this is the most adaptable out of the patterns that I will be releasing so far, out of these four, in terms of you can basically, you never have to knit the same sock twice in the same way. So what I've done is, you can see at the top here, these horizontal lines are closer together, and then they get further apart, and they get closer together again, and then they're further apart, so they're drifting in and out, which I thought Driftwood was a really good name for it as well. And then on this sock, it's slightly different. So you got them denser, then they get a little bit less dense, and then they get denser again. This one goes more in waves. So there's different repeat options. So you can see here, definitely, you can see less the horizontal lines, less dense there, and then it gets denser towards the bottom. So the way I've written it, there are 4 options. So there's a 4-row repeat, a 6-row repeat, 8-row, and a 10-row. And so just depending on how you mix and match those repeats, you can create a completely unique sock, and how many times you repeat each of those. So I think on this one I did 2 4-row repeats, 2 6-row repeats, and 1 8-row, and then went back to 2 6-rows, 2 4-row repeats, and then sort of going back, like increasing, decreasing the number of repeats. It's explained in the pattern. I have both versions that I've knit, and this one I knit slightly differently. I have both versions explained in detail in the pattern, how many of each repeat I knit and how I did it all. So it's all really well explained, and so you can choose how you do it yourself, and it's really fun that way. I think you can, each pair that you knit can be completely different. Each, with the same texture, just different repeats. So this, I forgot to mention what the yarns were. So this one is out of the Uncommon Thread. They're Tough Love sock, which is a BFL nylon base. I realise now that a lot of my socks in this collection have BFL in them, which is great. And this is in the Leaden colourway, Leaden. Leaden. I realise I've been pronouncing it wrong. Someone corrected me, so thank you. It's Leaden colourway, and this one is by Tammy of the Eternity Ranch Knits Etsy shop, and this is in her Caramel Kisses colourway. So 75-25 superwash merino nylon, and yeah, really, really fun. So those are the 4 pairs of socks, 4 patterns of 4 sock patterns. So there's Driftwood, there's Gravel, and there's Cobblestones, and finally Pebbles. So yeah, there's 8 pairs of socks for the 4 patterns that will be coming out on Friday. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. I hope you're excited too. And so I will move on to a few more details about the knit along. It's going to be relatively simple. I think I'll have a separate chatter and finished objects thread, just because it makes it easier to draw prizes from the finished objects thread without everything getting mixed up in the chatter. And the prizes that I have so far: 2 skeins of Pants Croy sock in Route 66, which was one of the colourways I used in my January Sockathon socks that I knit. Really fun. I really like this colourway actually, and this would work really well with any of the textures. I think it would probably work really well with either Pebbles or Cobblestone. I think it would be really fun to see how that would knit up with those in that pattern. Next we have a skein of yarn by Artistic Yarn by Abby, and this is in the watercolour stripe colourway. So this is a self-striping, really, really bright neon sort of pops of colour. Really, really fun. So I think that would make a really fun prize. And the third prize that we have is a BFL sock yarn. This is a 75-25 BFL nylon. This was donated to us by the wonderful Annie of the Windwall Knitting Podcast, and it comes with some stitch markers that she's attached, and this is something that she hand dyed herself in this beautiful purple tonal colourway. There's 425 meters and 100 grams, so I think this would be beautiful in any of the patterns as well, because it's beautiful tonal. I think this would look lovely in gravel. Would really stand out on this yarn. So these are the 3 prizes that I have so far. I think I will have some pattern prizes as well, which I will talk more about as and when they come up on the podcast. But these will be the prizes for the finished objects. It's a short knit along. It's about 4 or 5 weeks long, and so running from the 20th of May to the 27th of June. And the name for the knit along, not sure exactly what to call it. Beyond Vanilla KAL, Beyond Vanilla Part 1, because there will be a part 2, and I was planning on doing a knit along once the second set of patterns are released for both collections. But people were interested in doing one for now, so let's do Beyond Vanilla KAL 1. Alright, I'll pop up the hashtag on the screen, and that'll be the hashtag for the knit along on Instagram is Beyond Vanilla KAL 1. Because then we'll have KAL 2 later in the year when the second batch of patterns are released. Alright, so I think that pretty much covers everything I wanted to tell you about these socks. I was going to do this on the podcast, but then I realised it's just going to take quite a while to show all this and talk about it all, and not everyone will necessarily be interested. So I thought having a separate video would be best, and this way, you can come watch if you just love these socks so much. And poor Perry, I knit these for him as an anniversary gift for our wedding anniversary in March, and he hasn't been allowed to wear them since because I've been waiting to photograph them and then show them on the podcast or show them on this video, and wait till the pattern's released before he can have them. So now he can have his socks, which he's been waiting for. Now that my hair's gone crazy. Now that it's too hot to wear them. I just had a shower this morning and washed my hair, so it's drying on air, and it's doing this fizzy, horrible stuff that it does. All right, so I think that's enough chatter from me now. I will be back tomorrow with the regular podcast. Regularly scheduled programming will be back soon. And yeah, I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll chat to you soon. Bye.